I would like to show what I make swarm traps from. In my apiary, I use medium frames, and I actually use foundation strips instead of the whole foundation. It's just cheaper for me. Medium frames, Langstroth Hive was originally created out of a wine box, so that's what I'm using for my swarm trap. That's the cheapest way to go. I got this box at Costco for free, and I saw wine boxes at Harris Teeter and other grocery stores. So what I do is I put a little piece of scrap wood over here to make sure that my frames are resting on it, and also I have a little bit of space from the bottom so the frames are not sitting on the bottom and bees have some space to go, and make sure I have space over here so I can cover it. On the side, now let's go with what I'm going to cover. I'm going to cover this with a screen mesh. I'm using it's just a mesh that I use for window screens, and I use it in my hives. And what I do with them, imagine this is your regular hive box. I put a screen on the top, and then I put an extra box on the top without any frames, and then I put a top telescoping cover, whatever you would call it. I have, on some of my screens, I have scored an X over here. If I need to feed my bees, the way I use my feeder, the type of feeder I use is just the grocery bag filled with syrup. Then I open those flaps, stick the grocery bag with syrup in here. They drink it. I'll take it out, throw it away, close the flaps off. No bees flying up when I use it. So this little mesh was used in my nuke box. That's why it's more narrow. You can also use to collect propolis. It's so soft right now, but you put it in the freezer and then it becomes bristle, and you move the mesh like this, and you collect the propolis. I also use a bigger piece of mesh in my hives for the purpose of covering and growing my frames faster. For example, I have, let me put it just here, I have 5 frames in my hive box. I will put the mesh like this and put something in here, like a big towel, just to cover up the space, and keep this in here and put the cover on top. That will help the bees to figure out that the only space they have to fill and build the foundation is this much, versus the whole box, and they become overwhelmed with the space they have to heat or cool. And I use bigger piece of screen mesh for this. This is actually leftover from the product, from a project. Anyway, this also is covered with propolis. Where I was going with this, I have frames. This, my wine box will fit 9 frames instead of regular 8 frames or 10 frames. Then I'm going to cover with the mesh. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I think I'm going to use from the nuke because it has more propolis in it. And then I'll have a cover that I made out of plastic. And I'm going to put the string over just to make sure it doesn't fly off. I made this, I'm a real estate agent, and I ordered signs for my real estate signs, and this came in a box. This is actually the size of a real estate sign, but it was on top of the whole box of real estate signs. I scored it over here, used the construction stapler to staple it, not the office staple, construction stapler. And of course the staples were sticking up, and I had to use the hammer to bend them. The issue, and I can make it nice and pretty and cover, but it's just a temporary solution. The difficulty and challenge I had is folding it. Not this way, because see the stripes are going this way. It was easy to fold, but folding against the grid. So I had to use my pliers, just kind of bend it a little bit to make sure I can fold it. This will be my top. On the side for the entrance, oh, where's my entrance? It's actually on the other side. I have two entrances, one on this side and one on the opposite side. And I have these closers on the entrance. The inspiration was, the inspiration was this closing of the entrance. It's just a plastic. I bought several of those, and then I figured out, why am I buying this? I can make this, again, this is my old real estate sign. I cut out a whole bunch of circles and made this into my closers. Make sure that you don't tie it too tight, because you won't be able to turn. So for the trap, I'll have it this way. When I catch the bees, I'm going to turn it this way for the ventilation when I transport the bees so they don't die. Why did I make it on both sides? I don't know which tree I'm going to put it on, and if the branch is growing this way, I can't make this opening available for the bees. So I'll have this side open for the bees. You can also use this box as an emergency equipment. Right now is nectar flow, and I'm actually ran out of boxes. And before I make more boxes, this was my temporary solution for another box as well. One of the frames I have is drone comb, and I just stuck it in and put some wooden shims in, and I put it close to the entrance so they smell honeycomb. And I'm going to put a couple of drops of lemongrass, no more than 2 drops, because lemongrass is very, very strong, and it can repel the bees if you have too much of it. And I'm going to cover it like this and put it on a tree, and hopefully I'll catch some. Let me show you another variation of the wine box. When you get your wine boxes, make sure they're proper height, because not all of them have the same height. I'll show you in a minute. For example, this one is not as tall as my previous one, and on this one my frames will just sit flush. And for this one, I used it last year. I actually didn't build any frame rests. I just put the frames like this, and they were not wobbling. They fit tight, and they were sitting against each other. And for the top, I used the top of the wine box and used this. Not sure if it's visible. This is just a piece of leather. It's a part of old leather pants for this to have flapped. And for the side, again, same real estate sign, but I use the cup hooks. I use cup hooks most of the time because I don't have to have a drill where I can tighten or untighten, make it loose or very tight when I transport the bees. Otherwise, with the other system, I have to have a drill with a proper drill bit. So this is my solution. How else I use my wine boxes? That's another wine box. It's also not as tall as the first one, but you can use this for splits. When you have one frame of honey and one frame of bees, you have entrances from different sides, and I put a partition board in here. The box actually came with these slots. I didn't make them. They came, and this was a piece of backside of a bookshelf. You know how they have, it's not a cardboard, I don't know the material, but anyway, you can have it here. 2 frames will fit here. You can put 2 frames, actually my entrance is on this side. You can put 2 frames. Once you're split and new grows, you can move this partition board and keep building. That's it's not my creation, but that's what I do, and I wanted to share this tip with you. This is the part of the wine box, and I have one wine box that's kind of broke, and I'm using this pieces to create partition boards like that for my regular hive. That's my experience, that's what I do. And I hope you liked it, and if you have other ideas what you do, I'll be happy if you share it, so we can all see and share, exchange the ideas and create new ideas.